Well, my daddy was a logger down in the south. He cut pulpwood to put food in our mouths, and everybody knew that my daddy was a mountain of a man. Well, he kept to himself and he worked night and day. He worked 6 days a week to earn his pay, and I never ever seen my daddy try to start no fire. Well, he cut 5-foot pulpwood, did it all by hand, loaded it on an old 58 Chevy, had a wooden flatbed. There wasn't a man in our town as strong as he was. Now, Daddy went to church every Sunday, and before we'd eat, he'd always pray and he'd thank the Lord for the food we had to eat. Well, but as every story goes, the day finally came. Daddy couldn't work because of the rain. He got behind on the mortgage down at the bank. One day we drove to the savings and loan. Daddy went in trying to save our home just to ask the bank to give us a little more time. Well, that old banker rocked back in his chair and said there ain't no use you coming in here. There just really ain't nothing that I can do. Well, then I heard my daddy loudly say, "You're a fool to try and take my home away. All I'm asking you for is just a little more time." Well, then I saw that banker stand to his feet. He opened his mouth and he started to speak as he told my dad, "Go home, clean out your house." Well, I knew it was a mistake as soon as he said it, and if he lived, he'd probably regret it. The next thing I knew, man, I seen Daddy. He went across that man's desk. He began to make a terrible mess. That banker was screaming and hollering, telling Daddy to stop, begging him to stop. Well, Daddy knocked him down and picked him up again, looked him eye to eye with this evil grin, and said, "I'm really sorry, but there ain't nothing that I can do." By this time, Mom grabbed us boys and took us outside. The old banker was probably going to die, and we waited in an old Chevy log truck. Well, then my daddy came walking right out the front door and said that old banker won't bother us no more. It seems he was able to give us all the time that we need. Well, then he got in that old truck, he began to drive, and Mom asked the question, was the banker still alive? And Daddy said, "Oh yeah, the banker turns out he just made a small mistake. He can give us all the time it takes. Just make the payments as we can afford." That's what he told him. Well, it wasn't long until times got better and I rode with Dad as he went to pay off the letter down at that old same savings and loan. We parked the truck out in front of the bank. The whole time all I could do was think about the last time I was here. Dad walked in and said, "I'm here to pay off my loan." The lady up front said, "Well, the banker's on the phone. Have a seat and he will be right out." Well, then my daddy walked over to his door and I wondered if it's going to be the same thing as before. Daddy opened it up and he walked right on in. And then Daddy gave him the money to pay off the note. The banker wrote "paid in full" is what he wrote. Neither one ever said one word. But that old banker, he learned a great lesson that day. Don't ever disrespect a logger that way. That's what he learned.